Hi, I'm Laurie and welcome to a virtual tour of Thunderbirds Are Go, a 00 gauge model railway. So let's have a look at the story of this layout, and I'll go into some detail telling you what it is all about and then giving you some inside information too. So this is a general view of the layout, and as you can see, the Thunderbirds, who are a rescue team, they've come to the rescue of a crashed train in a ravine. International Rescue employ their Thunderbird machines. This is Thunderbird 1 that Scott flies, and he gets to the danger zone first. Once Scott in Thunderbird 1 has explained to Virgil in Thunderbird 2 what is going on, he can employ his heavy rescue vehicle, Thunderbird 2, to drop its pod and put some rescue gear into operation. Here you can see Red Arrow 3, which is a high-speed jet aircraft that has crashed. Now, Red Arrow 1 and 2 crashed in a program called Edge of Impact. That was the episode name of that Thunderbirds episode. Well, Red Arrow 3 hasn't had any much more luck either. It has crashed into a bridge, and as you can see, it's on fire. And what that has meant is that the monorail train, the Anderson monorail, is now stuck. The guide pole that it runs along is broken and it's hanging off the edge of the ravine. It hasn't even got the bridge support underneath it to help it if it should fall off. So all of the passengers are in deadly peril, and there is the broken bridge. Now, of course, the monorail doesn't need a bridge. It was following the old train tracks, and if you look carefully you can actually see some of the old train tracks where the old railway line once was. The pole that the monorail runs on is supported by these magnetic supports. Although now, of course, the pole is broken, the train can't go anywhere. So what do the Thunderbirds propose to do? Well, first of all, they've got to get their vehicles, their rescue vehicles, out of the pod. This is the first pod vehicle, the grab crane lifter that Virgil is operating, and there is Virgil sitting behind the machine, and he will use this to hold the monorail in position and move it. Once the monorail is in position, Scott will use the laser beam cutter Mark II to burn the front of the train off so he can get all the passengers out to safety. For you, the audience, next to Medin's halt, there are some buttons for you to press. This one rotates the laser beam cutter. The red one puts on a light. The other two are sound effects.
FAB, Virgil. Mobile control to Thunderbird 2.
So while the trains are moving, I can have some fun pressing the buttons.
Every second counts.
Admiring the view as the Thunderbirds attempt their rescue. Of course, if you're younger, you get a different angle, a different viewpoint of the rescue. It's interesting from most angles, I think. Here is a little in-joke. This halt is called a Medin's halt. It's named after the special effects guy, Derek Medins, that did many of the effects on Thunderbirds. Thunderbird 1 has landed near a house, and that house has some tiny little details there. And when the light goes on, sometimes you can even see a person inside, standing at the window if you look very carefully. In case you're interested, the Red Arrow 3 is actually made out of a modified Saab Draken kit. The original model had Hustler engines. This one I've made the engines from something else. Thunderbird 1 has had the electronics taken out, and these perform the sound effects. They used to have big red buttons there on the body, but they've now gone. I've filled those in and painted the model and re-added the lettering, of course. On the side of the layout there are things describing what I've done to the models and how I've converted them from toys. Thunderbird 2 has had hits, buttons removed as well, and I've added a little bit of electronics, so the cockpit detail is now lit up. And that, I wouldn't normally show you this, but there's a little light inside and a switch. And there's also a light inside the pod with some details added in there. I've also made a sci-fi locomotive, a futuristic locomotive for this layout. This isn't one of the Thunderbirds machines, it just happens to go past at the moment of the rescue. The Hornby Junior Express locomotive is what I used to make the Anderson Monorail, and of course that's named after Jerry Anderson, the creator of Thunderbirds. And if we move down here, we see some sheep. How do they even get there? And of course under the mountainside where the plane has hit, there are some rocks in the water. We would have that, wouldn't we? And the water effects I've used using a product called Water Effects. The smoke effect is actually steam. This is water being boiled off by an aroma diffuser. And I'll show you inside in a minute. This is something I would not normally show people, of course. I'll give you a little inside look. It uses ultrasonics to boil off the water. So there's no heat involved, it's not dangerous, nothing's going to melt, and it switches off automatically. Now I'm going to give you a quick look inside the model, and you'll see how the aroma diffuser is producing its smoke. This is the aroma diffuser unit, which is producing the smoke effect, which is actually steam. It's quite harmless, and behind that there's actually a sound unit, so I can play sound effects or music. Also in here is the Shuttle Controller, and this is the electronics that controls the analogue DC. Shuttle control, this gives it acceleration and deceleration. This is analogue only. I hope you enjoyed that virtual tour around Thunderbirds Are Go, my Thunderbirds themed 00 model railway. It does show that model railways don't have to be regular railways, they can be anything you want, and obviously hopefully this layout, when it does shows, will appeal to family audiences and young kids maybe, and young at heart, and get them inspired to produce something around maybe a theme that hasn't been done yet, or something they enjoy. And that, of course, that's what model rail is all about, enjoying yourself. So I've really enjoyed this model, producing it, and I hope you've enjoyed watching it. Thanks.